Hi friends, if you've taken antibiotics, you'll know that food just may not feel the same. Stinky farts, bloating, constipation, new food reactions, fatigue, brain fog, sugar cravings, immune issues, and weight problems that didn't exist before this? This isn't random. It happened to my son. This signals that your gut microbiome has changed, but you have the power to change it, even years later. So in this video, you'll learn why these 10 foods that took my son years to eat can change the effects of antibiotics that harmed you years before. And actually, these are not just 10 foods, but are really 10 food groups that will give you the flexibility to find other foods that may be more common in your area. And this can help you implement the 3 key principles to repair your gut health. And hence, you'll learn why the best probiotics aren't actually in a capsule or supermarket container. So the first and most important food for post-antibiotic gut repair are beans, especially lentil, chickpeas, black beans, and split peas. Now, beans are not hard on the gut when you prepare them properly. They actually are foundational. They provide resistant starch, soluble fiber. These ingredients feed butyrate-producing bacteria, which are wiped out by antibiotics. Now, butyrate is a primary fuel for your colonic cells. Without it, the gut lining thins and leaks and your poop stays. Beans also bind to bile acids, which are often irritating after you use antibiotics. And they slow fermentation so that the gut isn't overwhelmed. So start with small portions, well cooked, and build them up gradually. Make sure you soak your beans overnight. You can even ferment them to make it easier for you to digest. And literally start with 1 bean a day. Then you can build upon that, 2 beans and then 3 beans. Beans are best paired with other gut food. And to ease your transition, you can also get some digestive enzymes over the counter. But here's a common mistake that too many people do. They just stick to eating one type of bean. Now, there's a reason why God made all different types of foods for us to eat. Beans come in all different shapes and flavors and colors. The diversity is a key to getting your gut repaired. Mix it up. Work up to eat at least 1.5 cups of beans a day. So how do you eat them? It's really simple. If you're going to eat just 1 bean, basically squish it up and hide it in your food. But if you're actually going to eat a significant amount, then look for different kinds of beans for its taste. Eat it in the salad. So instead of, let's say, making a tuna salad, replace the tuna with the beans. I basically cut a bunch of different vegetables, add it to my beans, and then I add a dressing that's usually water-based, something like balsamic vinegar, mustard, a date, a spice, cumin, black pepper, turmeric. I put them in the blender and I add water. This combination just tastes good to my palate, and it's thin enough so that it just lightly coats my food instead of overpowering it with oil. And some of you may be wondering, where's the fat? Well, that's where nuts come in, and you can get plenty of fat from just sprinkling nuts on top of your food. So the second good for your gut food are oats, particularly oat groats or steel-cut oats that are cooked thoroughly in water. Antibiotics actually disrupt your immune signaling in the gut, and oats help to retrain it. Now notice how oats are kind of slimy, right? That's beta-glucan, a soluble fiber that forms like a mucus layer when you soak it in water. And that's the key. Beta-glucans interact directly with your gut immune cells, reducing inappropriate inflammation while improving microbial diversity. Now, literally, your gut microbiome eats that stuff. Oats also soothe the gut lining and help regulate stool consistency, which is really unstable during and after antibiotic use. They provide gentle carbohydrate support for your gut cells without feeding dysbiosis. It's so powerful that even oat milk can help people reduce their cholesterol. So if you have the option of adding half and half milk, cream, or oat milk, pick oat milk for your coffee. I guess that's why my church serves it. And when you find all different kinds of oats on the supermarket shelves, instant, quick oats, rolled oats, high protein oats, etc., just know they all feed your gut microbiome. So they're all good for gut repair. And when you eat oats, you're eating a prebiotic. And after your gut microbiome metabolizes it, it makes a postbiotic. It's called short-chain fatty acids. And when you're taking antibiotics, eat those oats. Eat them for breakfast. And when you're done with the antibiotics, eat oats. And if you aren't on any antibiotics, eat oats too. They will keep your gut healthy by feeding good gut microbes, which will then make sure short-chain fatty acids can directly talk to your colonic cells to give it the energy to push your poop through that tube. Now, the third are cooked root vegetables like sweet potatoes, carrots, winter squash. After antibiotics, the gut lining needs to rebuild. But refined flours, they come with sugars and fats that actually can breed pathogenic bacteria. However, roots are rich in anthocyanins, beta-carotene. They discourage pathogenic microbes. If you think about it, these plants have to inhibit microbes on their own. They have no plant doctor that they can text or call, and their doctor can't give them antibiotics. They are their own doctors. So they make molecules that have antimicrobial, antifungal properties so that they survive. They're also a rich source of nutrients for your body. Cooked roots contain soluble and resistant starch. They both feed your microbiome and they nourish your body with healthy carbohydrates, potassium, polyphenols that all support endothelial repair and mucus production. These foods are calming, grounding, and supportive of healing without overwhelming the fragile microbiome you have. It is crystal clear. Antibiotics, they don't just kill germs. They don't just eradicate infections. They change your immune system. But unfortunately, lots of times they strip the gut of keystone species, altering the vital colonic mucus and leaving behind an unstable ecosystem vulnerable to inflammation, opportunistic organisms like yeast and C. diff. You see, when you don't eat these food groups, then what are you eating? People who are unable to eat fiber-resistant starch, they will forever struggle with their health. And unfortunately, we have groups of people who don't have access to these foods because they can't eat solid food. Oftentimes, they have a medical condition that gives them a real good reason for why they need nutritional supplements. And I'm sure you may have heard of them. Protein supplements, nutritional shakes. Those are what I call last resort nutrition because they don't repair your gut microbiome. And usually people who are on those products, they have a swallowing problem because they choke. So traditionally, these people, they are immunocompromised. We have two types of these groups. One who are called infants, they're on infant formula. And then we have adults or older people who have a medical necessity to be away from whole foods. And when we give those kind of formulas to adults, we call it nutritional supplements or tube feeds. And there's honestly some really good reason for them to eat that fake food. That was in the past. Now we have a ton of young, healthy people literally spending thousands of dollars a year eating medical food, even though they have no problems eating regular whole foods that repair the gut. I mean, they don't need to do that. And literally, I know a physician who only eats protein bars. Come on, folks. Does that sound like a healthy thing to do? For some reason, the medical community, we think we know everything. We've worked everything out in nutrition. We just need the vitamins and minerals and the calories, the macro ingredients, right? And that's why we have an astronomical rate of cancers as well as heart disease. We're living less long than people who don't have access to those types of foods. Don't you think there's a big disconnect? Believe me, if you live long enough, you're probably eventually gonna need some of those nutritional foods. And if you really like to eat liquid stuff, why don't you just make a shake yourself? Add some whole food and blend it up like some berries, which is the fourth food group. Now, some of my favorite berries are blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, and raspberries. And notice how when you cut through a berry, there's color from the outside to the inside through the entire fruit. It's not just stuck on the outside. That color is what gives berries that power. Berries are also super high in fiber, and it's probably one of the highest fiber-rich foods per gram, especially because there's tiny little seeds that you can't separate out. And the fiber in those seeds, they are jewels. They're called polyphenols and anthocyanins. Now, berries supply polyphenols that protect your gut, suppress inflammation, and selectively encourage beneficial bacteria while discouraging those pathogens. They're fragrant, they're fun, they're sweet, and unlike refined sugars, berries improve your gut barrier integrity and immune tolerance. Even small daily amounts matters. And as a metabolic bonus, berries can help you lower your blood sugars in your meal, especially because they're full of the soluble fiber called pectin and hemicellulose. They both reduce inflammation induced by antibiotics, which increases oxidative stress in your gut and disrupts microbial signaling in your gut. And the reason why filling your plate with these whole food ingredients high in fiber is because the gut lining renews itself every few days, but only if it has fuel, if it has minerals, and it has the right microbial partner. So what you eat supplies it with fuel and minerals to then harbor the right microbial partners. It's true, after antibiotics, the gut is often inflamed, underfed, and overexposed because you wipe out most of your microbial partners. And it really depends on how broad spectrum the antibiotic you're taking is is and how long you are taking those antibiotics. That's why, as an infectious disease doctor, we aim to prescribe the shortest course for you. Luckily, in your colon, you have deep crypts that can offer homes to these bacteria, like little nooks and crannies. So they may be shielded from some of the antibiotics. However, if you're on antibiotics just long enough, it can wipe them out too. But if you grow it by feeding it with these whole foods rich in fiber, hopefully it can grow faster than it gets destroyed. And the only way to feed it is for you to eat it.
Hi friends, I am so thrilled that you want to take charge of your health and take charge of your food. Now, I know nutrition can be complex, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm here to support you in this lifelong journey. So if you point your camera app to this QR code, it'll take you to a link for a free handout that I created just for you. And if you like it, if you want to see other handouts, please go to the link in my show notes, and then you can leave me your feedback on what I could do to help you in your journey. Okay, back to the video now.
So another soluble fiber-rich food is a fifth food, flaxseed. Ground flax seeds, actually. They play a unique role in post-antibiotic recovery. The soluble fiber feeds bacteria slowly and reduces gas and irritation. It has lignans that are converted to microbes into anti-inflammatory compounds that support your gut barrier integrity. Flax seeds, they also help to normalize bowel movements, and they bind irritants left behind after your antibiotic use. The key is make sure you grind it up to be more absorbable so that it's actually effective. And when I lived with my mother-in-law, every time I went to the supermarket, I would ask her if I could buy anything for her. She would always ask for flax seeds, ground up. She said, make sure it's ground up. And she sprinkled it every day on her oatmeal. The lady is over 95 years old, folks. She's still pretty independent. She's doing something right. And luckily, I was able to live with her to observe her daily habits. And everything that I'm sharing with you is what my mother-in-law eats. She may not know the science of it, but she obviously knows what she's doing. And I remember every morning she would boil water and then cook a ton of broccoli, and we should eat bowls of broccoli as a snack, just like potato chips every day. And I realized what she was getting was sulforaphane, a longevity molecule to help her detox. But in addition, broccoli also has a ton of fiber. But that fiber, it's not brown, it's green because it's rich with chlorophyll. And in the middle of a chlorophyll is a magnesium molecule. So the entire broccoli family-like vegetables, that's called cruciferous vegetables. And that is the sixth group to eat from. This family includes bok choy, asparagus, Napa cabbage, red cabbage, kale. There's several different types of cruciferous vegetables. But the key is, if you're going to cook it, you got to chop it, leave it there for an hour before you eat it. The fibers can act as prebiotics to support bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which literally, again, fuels your colonic cells, makes those tight junctions tight. Broccoli also contains glucosinolates, which get converted into other compounds like sulforaphane when you injure the plant, so when you chop it up and release the enzyme myrosinase. Sulforaphane is critical for our health and longevity because it reduces oxidative stress in our gut. It calms our immune system that's oftentimes overactivated. And in addition, broccoli supports mucus production and helps regulate bile acids, lowering irritation of the intestinal lining. And when you eat broccoli regularly, raw or lightly cooked, it contributes to a thicker, more resilient gut barrier rather than simply improving your digestive symptoms. But the greatest benefit is really to pre-chop your vegetables an hour before you eat them so that you don't kill the myrosinase enzyme in heat, because that enzyme is needed to convert glucoraphanin into sulforaphanes. And sulforaphane, that's a molecule that you want. Green is such a very powerful color when it comes to food. That's why we need to eat more from the seventh food group. Cook leafy green vegetables such as spinach, collards, chard, and even kale. That green color means it's rich in magnesium, folate, vitamin C, and beta-carotene. And I mentioned before, antibiotics can deplete your magnesium, folate, and vitamin C, nutrients essential for your gut lining to regenerate. So cooked greens deliver these in a low irritant form, which also supports blood flow to heal tissue, and it provides antioxidant defense to help lower inflammation. If you think about our biggest land animals, they eat a ton of leafy greens. And these are foods we should be eating before and after antibiotic use. The eighth food is quite controversial for me, daily fermented vegetables. Now, I don't advocate eating fermented vegetables daily. I think, though, it does have a place in the medical community. And if you carefully and intentionally use it, you can minimize your risks. There are 3 reasons that I don't like fermented foods. Number 1 is food poisoning. Lots of people still get food poisoning every year from fermenting their own foods. So eating that stuff just shouldn't be that risky these days. Number 2 is the salt. High blood pressure is the number 1 leading reason for why we have heart disease. But that's how fermented food is preserved. Salt will make you eat more food. And we have a nation of overeating, right? The 3rd reason is because simply, we've known for decades, salted fermented foods elevate your risk of gastric cancer. This includes sauerkraut, kimchi, fermented carrots. But I cannot deny that the current literature has shown that these fermented foods can increase your microbial diversity after antibiotics. And that's what people are struggling with, microbial diversity, because antibiotics destroy your microbes. And really, you don't have to eat a lot of it. But the problem is, if you're taking antibiotics on a daily basis, then you're basically destroying your gut microbiome in real time. And you do have to replenish it somehow. And if you eat fermented foods, hopefully some of that will be able to multiply and stick. So this is one of those products that I absolutely would strategically use. So when I'm on antibiotics, I would take it and then probably take it for a few days after. But I wouldn't be doing this prior to antibiotics. I simply don't think the risks outweigh the benefits. And if you think about it, it's just no way your food is sterile. And if you eat any raw vegetables or fruits, you're gonna get some microbes in it, unless you're cooking it. So hopefully you'll get some of the good ones and not the bad ones that contaminate our food sometimes, like salmonella. And when you ferment vegetables, obviously the microbes are already there. And that's why you're allowed to give it the right environment to promote its growth. So if you eat any raw stuff, you're gonna get some microbes. But if you eat only one little 2x2 piece of lettuce, you're only gonna get so much microbes. So the name of the game is increasing your food. Eat more raw fruits and vegetables. But fermented foods can jumpstart that. And here's a problem when people take probiotics. Most of the time you're just swallowing a pill and then you keep having to swallow it. You don't feel any different. You're still struggling with your symptoms. Why is that? Maybe because you're not feeding it. It's like seeding a lawn. If you forget to feed it, then seeding it won't grow your grass, right? Have you ever seen grass growing in a desert sand? So the 9 foods are nuts and seeds, especially walnuts, chia seeds, almonds, and pumpkin seeds. They should be eaten in modest proportions. Now, these foods aren't low in calorie, but they're packed with nutrients. They have magnesium, zinc, copper, vitamin E. They're all critical for your gut cell turnover and antioxidant defense. Walnuts in particularly support your microbial diversity because it's associated with reduced gut permeability. Seeds are also helpful to restore microbial diversity. And really, nuts and seeds are so high in fiber and phytonutrients and vitamins and antioxidants. But make sure you always get the nuts and seeds with the skin. So this means don't buy blanched almonds, get the ones with almond skin. Don't buy skinless peanuts. Go look for peanuts with the red skin. And if you can't find it, go to an Asian supermarket. That skin is the beneficial fiber and the polyphenols. They literally live there and they're promoting good gut health. So speaking of fiber, have you ever eaten an avocado? Avocados are packed with whole food fat as well as whole food fiber. They're good nutrients for your gut to repair without added oils and added fats. In an avocado, that fat is trapped in fiber. There's potassium, magnesium, and folate. It's embedded in a food matrix. This supports mucus production, slows down absorption, stabilizes the gut lining, and reduces irritation from excessive bile, which is quite common after antibiotic use. Now, because the fat is not isolated, it supports repair rather than triggering inflammation. Did you notice that everything that I listed really can just go in a salad? And here's some different salad dressing flavors. The key is to eat enough of these foods to get a combination of at least 30 different whole plants in a week's time span that your gut sees to promote all different kinds of species. The more plants you eat, the more fibers and polyphenols you will get access to, because we need tons of microbes to coexist together to be healthy. And how much fiber should you eat in total? At least 30 grams a day. Really, there's no ceiling unless it prevents you from eating the right calories and nutrients. So personally, I have a game with myself. I try to eat at least 50 different whole plants and I target 50 grams of fiber a day. It's not difficult when your whole plate is actual natural food. But unfortunately, when you eat processed food, they process that fiber out and they fill it up with something else. That's even more detrimental for your health. That's something else. And you really need to learn about that. So watch the next video.